Greetings, YouTube. The doctor is in. Dr. Urias Papers here, coming at you with another commentary on Marvel Contest of Champions. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave a question or comment. All right, I got a request to do a series of videos on who would be my top 10 to awaken in each class, and then I'm going to add a little bit on top of that. Who are my top 10 within those who I would awaken to use signature levels or sig stones on? So we are going to use Aunt May to do that. And if you are unfamiliar with Aunt May, here is Aunt May right here. So Aunt May is a website that will show you basically all the particulars about a certain champion, what they get when they're awakened, what their signature level ranges are, and it has a number of features that allow us to filter out for tags on the champions and things like that. So today we're going to talk about science. And the first question is, out of all of these science champions, who should we absolutely awaken? Who are my top 10 to awaken? So I've got a list, of course. So here is my top 10 science champions that should be awakened, top 10, and honorable mentions. So number one, and some of the metrics that I used to put this list together are, I want champions whose signature ability is absolutely going to make them so much better, and without it, they're just not, I would not even touch them. And there are champions in the list, so I've got more of the list down below here. So we'll go down past this. So here's the list in alphabetical order of champions that I wouldn't even bother with awaken. I don't think it's important to awaken them. And so we've got people in here like Red Hulk. I don't think it's really... He is okay without being awakened. Scorpion is okay without being awakened. I think Spider-Ham is okay without being awakened. Overseer is okay without being... Like, Overseer has two signature abilities that... One is if an opponent fails to turn something on because of a concussion they've got or ability, accuracy reduction, they take some damage. That's really not integral to his kit. The other one is striking an opponent after the opponent uses a heavy or a special, they get some burst damage. Again, he does plenty of damage. There's plenty of other things in his kit that make up for that. Those are just little extra things that he could get, but they're not going to make the Overseer worse if he doesn't have those, and or they don't have to absolutely need them. Okay, so number one on my list is Captain America, Infinity War. So Cap, let's take a look at Cap. Here he is right here. So what does he get for his signature ability? Well, he gets this leadership thing. And depending on who's on his team, he gets some really cool stuff. He has a chance of getting some really cool stuff. So the signature level goes from 40% to 100%. So if he's got a mutant on his team and he triggers a special attack, he gains a kinetic potential, and that's part of his kit. If he's got a skill person on his team, whenever he gains a debuff, he can consume a kinetic potential and purified. He's got a chance. Whenever he's got a science, if he parries a well-timed block, he puts a weakness on his opponent. If he's got a mystic, he's got a chance to gain a kinetic potential each time a buff expires or is nullified on his opponent. If he's got, and so that would be if I well-timed block them and stun them, that expires, so then I would get one. If he's got a cosmic on his team, then he's got a chance of getting an armor break debuff on his opponent. And if he's got a tech on his team, he's got a chance of putting a petrify. And he can get multiple of these if he's got different classes on his team. So I think without this, he's just okay. He's just okay. But with this, he's absolutely amazing. And I will repeat that. He's absolutely amazing. Now, this is just Awakening. This is not, I'm not talking about putting sig levels on right now. So I think out of all of my top 10, he's the number one that should be awakened. I think he gets the most out of Awakened. Okay. So I think the next one we look at is She-Hulk. My number 2 is She-Hulk to be awakened. Now, what does She-Hulk get for being awakened? So where is She-Hulk? Here she is right here. So again, She-Hulk gets this sighting precedent, and she gets a whole different class of things depending on who her opponent is. And then there's a signature range for each one of these abilities. So if she is fighting a science champion, she has a certain percent chance with each hit landed to purify a debuff. I mean, so many science champs do, different things. Particularly, I can think of like Human Torch. She's got a 30 to 70% chance with each landed hit to purify and incinerate from Human Torch. Fantastic ability. If she's fighting a Mystic, her attack rating goes way up. And her attacks cause that opponent to gain 25% less power. Amazing. If she's fighting a Cosmic Champ, she gets a bonus to her attack rating for each buff the Cosmic Champs have. And Cosmic Champs are all about buffs. If she's fighting a Tech Champ, that opponent suffers a minus 15 to minus 60 armor up effect duration and potency. Not so great. There's a lot of Tech Champs that get armor ups. I don't think that's the greatest one in the world. If she's fighting a mutant, then the opponent suffers a minus 20 to minus 55 ability accuracy during special attacks. That's pretty cool. If she's fighting, say, Archangel, Archangel has the ability to trigger bleeds on a crit, and that gets lowered, and that may not happen. So there's things that are very good. So I think without her citing precedent and without being awakened, she's just okay. With it, she gains so much more. I think it enhances her so much that it's pretty required. My number 3 is Void. So let's take a look at Void. And here is Void right here. And Void gets Fear of the Void. And I think this is absolutely essential to his kit, especially in longer fights where this comes in and just makes Void absolute. So when all Intimidating Presence debuffs are at max stack, so he has 3 different debuffs, and he can put 2 stacks of each one, so he's got to have 6. When they're all at max, so each one, the opponent has 2 of all 3, instead of being removed, those debuffs are converted into a passive Fear of the Void that combines their effects into one effect and grants Void a 893 to 4356 bonus to his attack rating for 40 seconds. And then when Fear of the Void is active, Intimidating Presence generates debuffs. So he's got a little timer and it generates debuffs. You generate those debuffs faster, up to 60% faster. So this, without this, Void is pretty junk. This is everything with his kit. So, this, again, adds so much to his kit. Okay, number 4 is Immortal Abomination. So let's look at Immortal A-Bomb. Where is he at? All right. Immortal A-Bomb is actually pretty good without this, but he just gets just logarithmic scales better. So one is his self-inflicted poison stack limit is increased to 12. So every 10 hits, he gets a self-poison. And he starts with 3 of them at the start of the fight. So if he's not awakened, he starts with 0. If he is awakened, he starts with 3. These things tick down when his toxic aura is on. So you want this to be as high as possible before you trigger his toxic aura. And the toxic aura puts a poison on the opponent every second that they're close to him. So you want to have this high so that they get to go to acid burn because of having 10 poisons on them. Now, the other thing is his poison, petrify, and acid burn effects last longer, up to 30% longer. So that's pretty massive. So right now, if he were to acid burn, it's corrosive poisons. So if he were to acid burn someone, if the opponent reaches 10,000 poison debuffs, they are converted into an acid burn passive dealing 21,490. This is for a rank 4. Direct damage over 5 seconds. That goes to 6 seconds instead if you've got him full sig. So that, and one more second of that is another 21,000 points of damage. That's pretty massive. So I think that's pretty cool. I mean, it could be up to 21,000, but it could be a lot more. So that's really really important. So I think it's important to get him up. Okay, so number 5 is Red Guardian. So let's take a look at Red Guardian. Red Guardian. Okay, so without these, Red Guardian is just kind of okay, but with him, I think he's really good. So the maximum durability of his ablative shield is increased by 1 for every 40 signature levels obtained, to a maximum of +5. And what are those? That's his whole gimmick, is these ablative shield. So what happens when he's got ablative shield on? And it starts the fight with 9, and he can go up to a maximum of 10. Each blocked hit removes 1. Each stack of durability increases perfect block chance by 5%. If you got 10 of these, that's 50%. Perfect block chance. While the shield is intact, Red Guardian can block heavy and unblockable attacks and then gains a block proficiency. So it increases his perfect block chance pretty massively. And the more of these you start with, the better. So when he's awakened, if he's got high sig, you start out with more. Well-timed blocks have a 10 to 100% chance to prevent durability loss. So if you parry someone, you could get a perfect block, and you won't lose that point of ablative shield on there. And then his trauma, this is the big one, his trauma, slow, and fragility debuffs last 5 to 30% longer. So he does like a slow on a special 1, a fragility on a special 3, and trauma whenever his shield explodes. And trauma is a big one. But let's look at the fragility. So the fragility on here is inflicted for 20 seconds. So now it's going to be 26 seconds. And it grants a critical rate damage and reduces block proficiency by 50%. So we get 6 more seconds on that if he's at 30%. So all of that is just massively adds to his kit, and he's just kind of vanilla without it. Okay. Next is Spider-Man 2099. So let's look at Spider-Man 2099. All right. Spidey 2099. Again, without these things, the persistent ruptures, he's pretty good, but I think he just becomes logarithmic scales better with persistent ruptures. So ruptures, this is a big one. Ruptures have a 12 to 80% chance to not be consumed when they burst physical damage is triggered. So you put these on, and then they bust open, and they do a bunch of damage when the opponent gains a bar of power. With this, if I have, let's say, 4 of these on, then and then they bust open, the opponent, and I've got him at max sig, the opponent's going to keep 3 of them. And then when they go back up, I'm going to have more. So they just kind of accumulate over and over and over again. And then the next one's really good too. 5 to 25% combat power rate while the opponent is affected by a wither debuff. So you put the wither debuff on with a special 2, or if you have him with anti-venom, who gives him a wither debuff right away. And he gets power, because you want to be able to get to the special 2, because that's the bread and butter damage dealer. And he will get to his special 2 faster with that. So I think with these, it is really, really super important to have these. All right, the next one I've got is Joe Fixit. And Joe got a buff, which has made him actually really good. Where is Joe here? There's Joe Fixit. Okay. So Joe has this metric in his kit down here. He's got the Gambler's Draw and the Dead Man's Hand. So he can hold 4 cards at a time, and he draws cards if an attack was blocked, or if he does certain things, like end a combo with a light. and he has hearts, then he gets a 7% lifesteal. If he's got spades and he ends a combo with a medium, he gets a bonus to his attack rating. Now he's got this other thing called Dead Man's Hand. So if Joe's hand consists of one of the following combinations, inflict the respective debuff. So Joe is a debuff inflictor, so that's where we're going. So if he's got one pair, he inflicts a disorient on the opponent for 10 seconds, plus 5 seconds per bar of power spent on special. If he's got 3 of a kind, he does a weakness, and if he's got a flush, which is one of each suit, he's got a petrify. And playing hand removes all cards on the last hit of the special. Now, with his signature ability, after using cards to play the Dead Man's Hand bluff, instead of being removed, all slots are randomly assigned one matching suit. So all of a sudden he just draws another hand, which allows even more debuffs to happen. And then additionally, suits gain a stackable bonus during special attacks, so you can keep stacking up everything. And then he's got Jackpot, which counts as all 4 suits. So if he's got all hearts, debuff. If he's got all spades, a bonus to crit rating. All clubs, bonus to power. And diamonds, he's got a bonus to armor. So again, without this, his Dead Man's Hand would just go away, and then he'd have to randomly start picking cards again as he got blocked. But with this, he gets his cards back, and then he gets this extra thing called Jackpot. So I think this really enhances his character very well, and it's a very good ability. All right, who is next? Anti-Venom is next. So what does Anti-Venom get for his Awakened ability? And remember, just want to clarify, these are my top 10 to be awakened. These are not my top 10 to add signature levels to. We're going to go over that as well. All right, so his signature ability is called Controlled Symbiosis. So he has 3 different personal debuffs that he puts on his opponent. And with his Awakened ability, personal debuff potency is increased by 10% for every 10 hits in the combo meter from either champion. Okay, so he's got a Spectre, which stops healing. He's got a Disorient, which reduces ability accuracy. And he's got a Decelerate, which stops unblockable attacks and stops evades. So these things get more potent if his combo meter is higher. Non-personal debuffs are increased by 5% for every 10 hits on the combo meter. Effect is capped at 50 hits. And then he gets a passive regeneration. So, and this is passive, so it can't be turned off. Can't be staggered out or nullified or anything. So, and that covers 20 to 65% of the attack damage taken from a non-critical hit over 20 seconds and is interrupted if the Clintar debuff is purified. So everybody starts with. So he's lower on my scale because he doesn't absolutely positively need these, but I think they make him so much better with these things, particularly this first one where the debuffs are really, really potent, especially the last one. His Decelerate, because his Decelerate is a chance to stop evades, and this just gets even more powerful as his Sig ability goes up. Okay, number 9 is Spider-Man Miles Morales. Let's take a look at him. There's Miles right there. Okay, so he gets his whatever a spider can spider challenges. So he gets these spider challenges he can complete when he does a well-timed block, or he evades, or things like that. So additionally, he may now complete spider challenges multiple times. So before he can only complete each once. Now he can do them multiple times during a fight instead of just once. However, each spider challenge can only grant 1 spider sense charge. Each time he completes a spider challenge, he gains a passive fury. So you can start stacking these passive furies up if you can do these things pretty fast. And again, the passive fury attack rating goes up with his signature ability level. This in itself makes his kit really, really good. All right, now our last one is Human Torch. So I think Human Torch needs to be awakened, but I don't think that his signature ability, it's not the most important thing. It's not important during a fight. It's an important between fights. So he gets these persistent charges. So if he has 0 persistent charges and his pre-fight ability is not active, he has a 10 to 20% chance to gain 1 persistent charge. He gains persistent charges every time he wins a fight. So if he's got 0 and if he's not awakened, then he won't get a persistent charge at all. If he's awakened, he's got a chance to get one between fights. This chance increases by a flat 12 to 40% every time the ability fails to activate. Again, he's not going to get them, and then he's going to get them more frequently if they fail. So that is my top 10 to awaken. Now let's talk about some honorable mentions. I got 4 honorable mentions in here: Luke Cage, The Thing, Spider-Gwen, and Wasp. So Luke Cage, he gets an indestructible that lasts for 3.7 seconds, and his SIG ability causes the cooldown of the indestructible to cool down faster. So he gets it more often. The Thing gets Unbreakable Spirit, so he can, when he does a heavy, depending on his SIG ability and how many rock stacks he has, he gets this protection for a certain amount of time that reduces damage. And as you can see, if I got 20 stacks and I'm max SIG, it'll reduce damage 100%. Spider-Gwen, her slow debuff lasts longer. That's important. Her bonus crit rating, Spider Sense. She gets more bonus crit rating and Spider Sense. Her SP2 reduces power and health gain by opponent more. And her hunt and trap features have an increased duration when she's awakened. Wasp has an increased chance to purify from evade. And that's really cool. So when she has the evade ability, if she evades, she can purify a bunch of different kinds of debuffs. And then she has a reduced duration on the evade counter. So there's a little clock every time you evade, and your evade will recharge after a certain amount of time. That actually goes down with her signature ability. Okay, now that we talked about who is in the top 10 and the top 10 priorities to awaken, now I want to talk about the top 10 priorities to add signature levels on once they are awakened. So my number 1 is Void. And the reason for that is because his attack rating is so massive when he gets Fear of the Void. So it tops out at 4,357, and he generates debuffs so much faster, which each debuff does damage to the opponent automatically. He can generate debuffs 60% faster, which means the little clock that he has on when debuffs happens 60% faster. And that is, I mean, if you got this guy racked out, it is massive the amount of debuffs you can put on somebody. The second one to put signature levels on is Immortal Abomination. So he gets, with his Awakened ability, he gets more self-poisons, but his debuffs last up to 30% longer. His poisons last up to 30% longer, which means you can put more on, which means you can get to acid burn faster, and his acid burn lasts longer. And so those are the 2 big metrics for him, and you want those to be maxed out as much as possible. Number 3 to put SIG levels on is Spider-Man. Again, you get up to an 80% chance to re-trigger those ruptures on your opponent when they burst open. And you get up to 25% combat power rate. So both of those things, anything that's underlined on here is increased by SIG level. So those are 2 really important things. All right, number 4 is Red Guardian. Max durability is increased by SIG level. Parry won't lose durability up to 100% chance. So if he's max SIG, every time you parry, you have a 100% chance not to lose a durability. And the most important one is any one of his 3 different debuffs lasts up to 30% longer. So with max SIG level, it's 30% longer, and that's pretty massive for him, particularly with trauma and fragility, because those are his damage dealers. Joe Fixit, if we look at him and we look at the things that he has SIG abilities on, it's this jackpot. So counts as all fort suits, and You can see that, I mean, 25% armor penetration, that's awesome. 30% of a bar of power over 2 seconds, that's pretty cool. The crit rating one's not so great, but like 10% duration, debuff duration could be, a second per debuff, so that's pretty good. Spider-Man Miles Morales, his big one is he gets his Furies. The range on his attack rating for his Furies is based off his Sig level. So you want to have that as high as possible. So he's doing tons and tons of damage when that passive Fury is on. She-Hulk, the extra effects that she's got are based on the opponent's class. And each one of those, if we look at She-Hulk, each one of those has a signature range. The best ones on here are probably the Science one when she's fighting a Science. 70% chance for each landed hit to purify debuff. That was great with the Max Sig. With the Mystic one, it's 2049 attack rating. And with Cosmic, that can get crazy. 633 per buff on the opponent. That can get really crazy. If she's fighting someone like an Odin or an Angela, she could probably get up to 3,000 bonus on her attack rating. The tech one I'm not so happy with, but the mutant one is really good, up to 55% attack rating. So that's everything she gets with Max Sig, which is really good. Number 8 is Human Torch. You just want to be able to get that persistent charge as much as possible. If you have one persistent charge, then you can start the fight with the Nova Flame on, and that's really important. And so you want to be able to game the system and get your chances up as best as possible. And those chances, those recovery chances, are all based off of Sig level. Anti-Venom, the big one is his self-regeneration after damage is taken, after a non-crit hit. So that can go to 65. So I didn't think that was as important. That's why I got him at number 9. Infinity War Captain America, all of his leadership abilities start at a base 40%. So it's not really important to max his Sig out, but you probably can get away with getting those up to about a 50%, and they're pretty good. So like every other hit or every other time he does a well-timed block parry, he's going to get one of those really good like armor breaks or weaknesses or petrifies. So that is what I have for everybody. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this helps people make decisions on their science champs. And enjoy. This is not my top 10 list of science champions. This is just the top 10 to Awaken and the top 10 to use signature levels on. So I hope you enjoy. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will catch everybody later.